Guys, welcome officially to Refined Cook's Let's Cook class. Online cooking classes while we're sheltering in place. And if we're just bored and that's the worst of it, that's a really good place to be. And I hope you guys are fine. So before we start, I just want to check in. I see you guys. We're supposed to we're a full class today. And I just realized, because a lot of people are in the waiting room. So like I just admitted someone, and it looks like this is the first time we're doing this in this class. I must have inadvertently set up the waiting room thing. I should have just let everyone come in, because that means I will be having to admit people one by one. I see Anna. Hi, Anna. Nice to see. I love seeing you guys again and again. So I'm sorry, I didn't see earlier, but music, thumbs up, thumbs down. Can you hear
Music's
it?
good. Yeah, music's good.
Oh, yep. Yes. Good, because it's actually so much more pleasant to just have, right now it's Billie Holiday in the background. So, excuse me if I'm just like checking every so often, because as people come in and it's asking me to admit them, I might have to keep on checking the computer for that reason. And note to self, I will make sure Zoom doesn't do that in future. But so for those of you who are new to Refined Cook, so I am Marlene Del Rosario. I'm in Massachusetts, in Dedham to be precise. And we normally host cooking class parties. But of course, most of life has kind of completely ground to a halt. So that's not happening, which is why we're doing some online cooking classes to keep the community connected. Some of you already know this, but our mission is to promote a slow and sustainable lifestyle. Not be slow, but slow. And we do this by trying to get people to cook healthy and gourmet food, which means I am also very particular about ingredients, and I do talk about ingredients and processes to maximize health benefits. Yeah, we're in just a little bit of the environment. We are 100% wind energy here. We compost, etc. All these things that are nice to think about, especially when we have nothing to do at home. So today's menu is actually quite simple compared to last week. We are, as with all our Let's Cook classes, we are working with available ingredients, particularly leftovers, which we learn how to incorporate in class. So I am gonna show you the ingredients, but today's menu, the appetizer will be a stuffed dates with goat cheese and Serrano ham. I showed the video last Friday we have a leg of Serrano ham here, which we've had since a little bit after Thanksgiving. So that's what, 4.5 months. And they're meant to keep long, actually, in room temperature. That's how they do it in Spain. But it's pretty much close to the bone with just a little bit meat left. So we thought we might as well kind of hasten the process. So yeah, we're gonna stuff the dates with that, but we're also probably going to use it in some ways with our soup as well. And then we're going to have a roasted vegetable soup made from, a lot of it will be from the leftovers we had from last week's class, because last week we roasted a bunch of tubers. So I'm going to show you that. And then we're going to have a simple salad, a smoked salmon salad. I'll show you how we typically do it. This is like our go-to salad in the house. It's really easy. But first, let me show you our ingredients. If you were here, aside from the jazz music, you would smell my newly toasted pecans. So I just toast, you can toast nuts. In my case, I just use a toaster oven, but you can use the pan for this. But toaster oven is pretty easy. That's just like 8 minutes at 315 degrees. So of course you have to check if your toaster oven has, you know, they're all different. Sometimes it might be faster or slower. And I did show last week that we are nut lovers here. So I do keep a bunch of nuts. I mean, this is just part of our stash. It's actually going low. I have to replenish. So we tend to keep raw nuts, and then we toast in batches, keep them in jars. They'll keep for a bit. And they're just useful for all sorts of things. Whoop, I see someone is coming on board. Yep. And okay, we have, here's my fresh organic Medjool dates, which I love these. These are super healthy. I get them at Costco. They stay in the pantry for weeks, and I make all sorts of things with this. My favorite is a dessert. Very healthy. It's like a naturally sweet item, so it's used as sugars too. And it's, if you're watching your sugar intake, this is a really good good thing to use, because obviously it's a fruit. Is it a fruit? Yeah, it is a fruit, and pretty amazing health food. We have an onion, avocado. I did say we have bunches of that. Red onion. This is already I just washed it. This is organic arugula and spring mix. Here is Serrano ham. I shaved this afternoon from our beautiful leg. Of course, you can use any ham you want. Since I have sage, I will make use of that today. This is homemade stock. Obviously, you don't need to make your own for this. You can use any stock. You can even use water, but I always recommend stock over water. Here are some of the last class's tubers. I have roasted sweet potato, carrots, and I think there's a Jerusalem artichoke somewhere there. Goat cheese, and just because I have these are wild violets in the yard, I just picked some of them because it's always nice to plate and use. These are edible, by the way, so I love using edible garnishes like this. And you know, soon summer, spring, summer, we're gonna get more choices, but right now that's what I have. And also chives from the garden. All right, so I just walked you through ingredients. Can I just ask who among you guys are, as I fix this, who among you guys are cooking today? Let's see, I'm trying to see. Oh, I see someone's trying to come in. So anyone who's cooking? Anyone?
Marlene, this is Anna.
Anna. Why don't I hear Anna?
Oh, you can't hear me?
Anna, your volume is down.
Oh.
Huh. Wait, and is it something on my end that I don't hear anyone?
Anna, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Actually, Mark, I don't hear you too.
Yeah.
Wait, let me see why.
I can hear you, Mark.
Yeah. I didn't think she could hear me before, but I didn't
on my end. So let's see why. Okay. Anna, I'm gonna make you a host. Can you just I'll spotlight video on you. Can you just say something?
Sure. Hello.
I don't hear you at all.
No?
Whoa. Let's see if my volume is weird here. Okay, talk again.
Hello.
Yay! Eureka! I knew I could troubleshoot that one. Okay, so I can hear you now. Mark, how about you?
Yes, hello, I'm here.
Oh, here we go. So it was weird. One of those weird things where they're just like, it's moving parts, you know, so many things that can be weird and all. So, okay, let's talk about, so let me ask again the group, how many people are cooking today? I saw Anna. Is it just Anna? Meredith, I see. Welcome. This is the first time I'm meeting you, so hello.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I'm not cooking today. I don't have all the ingredients.
No problem. Meredith, where are you from?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Wow. Well, welcome. We're in Massachusetts, so.
Oh, I know, way on the other coast.
You know, again, today was supposed to be a full class, but I'm not seeing the others. But you know, my apologies again for the weight room thing. I'm gonna remove that. Okay. I have multiple cameras, so I'm gonna be switching around. So I'm gonna talk about the first step. This is something new that I've sort of read from a wonderful book from Joe Robinson called, it's called Eating on the Wild Side. It talks about the nutrients in vegetables and fruits. And one of the things that's really important is in garlic. I will explain. Let's actually first cut it. So I'm going to use, for the amount of tubers I have, I will probably use 3 cloves. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crush this. I have a pestle and mortar, so that's what I tend to use. If you want to use the flat blade of your knife, that's fine. And then I'm going to explain it, why we're starting with this step. But it's something that I want to do from now on. So I'm going to change the view of the camera. So I tend to love pestle and mortar. So I'm just going to give it a quick hit like that, and then you can easily remove the shell. And since the soup, this is for the soup, and we are going to be pureeing the soup, which is why I said that we needed a blender in our gadgets and gizmos. So that means all we need to do is just open it up, crush it to release the most juices, but aesthetics will not play a key because it's all going to be pureed. So what I like to do, I know I still, here's there we go, a hidden one. Okay, so I know sometimes you don't have to do it, but I kind of am finicky that way. I just remove that little, and it's just part of my OCD thing. So I will remove, and then I'll crush it, and that's all she wrote. And then I will explain why we're starting with this. Okay, that's all. I have a little bin in front of me. Just makes it so much easier for all the trimmings, and they just go into our compost. So one of the things I like talking about is surface area. When you basically expose so much of an ingredient, you basically get the maximum power. So I'm releasing a lot of juice this way. If you left the clove intact, you're not maximizing the flavors. And here's a second reason why. Okay, so and by the way, feel free to chime in on questions if you want. So, okay, garlic. Garlic, I think you might know, has allicin, which is one of the most, it's touted as really healthy. It's beneficial. It's been linked to helping with cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer. Okay, and that's why they sell garlic supplements. You can drink the capsules, etc., etc. However, most of the amazing allicin, which is a compound in your garlic, gets lost. If not all, is lost when you cook it, because allicin is a compound made up of 2. One is an enzyme, one's a protein. I think it's allene, and they sound similar, allene and allane. And one of them is heat sensitive. And when you crush it, you get these two little substances to commingle, and that's what forms the allicin, which we all want. But if you heat it too soon, you just destroy it, and so you don't get the benefits. And so that's one of the things I took from that book, was you just have to prepare it, crush it, and leave it for 10 minutes before hitting the heat, and you're able to get the allicin. I mean, and that's simple enough. You just in your processes, just make that the first thing you do. By the time you get around to actually cooking, it's probably going to be benefits. So it's kind of easy, right? So with that said, we will process the rest of our ingredients for the soup. So we are starting with the soup because while that's cooking, it's not going to cook too long. We're going to have to cool it before we actually puree it. because you don't want to puree really hot stuff in a blender. I will also talk about that later, but that just means that there's a little bit of dead time that we can use, which is when we can make the other things. So we're gonna start off with this. I'm pointing because that's where my soup stock is. So I'm getting now my onions, actually just one onion. I'm gonna use one onion. I'm gonna use maybe a couple of sage leaves, and then the tubers, the roasted tubers. You can use leftovers of any vegetable. This is actually a really good way to get rid of vegetables that are either already cooked, so leftover vegetables, or it's the same process that I use to make carrot soup, squash soup, and it's a base recipe, in other words. Okay, so let me get the onion. All right, here are my ingredients. So, oops, I should have.
I just have a quick question.
Yes, go. You don't have to make it quick. Make it a long question. Yes.
My vegetables are not roasted. So I was planning on using like potatoes, carrots, and maybe a zucchini. Should I roast them or, because I have the oven on.
You don't have to. So the difference, you can, what will happen is your cooking time will be longer than me because my ingredients are already cooked and yours isn't, right? But that's all actually that will be the difference in today's cooking. In terms of flavor, what roasting brings out is a certain kind of caramelization. So there's a difference in flavor components between roasted and not, but I like them equally well. I actually make a lot of stuff that's not roasted. So it's just either way, you can use it. It'll just take longer so that we'll talk about it when yours is cooking because I'll wait for you. That's all, not a problem.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks.
so onion. I am putting my nice camera here. Well, it's my chopping board camera. So I always like to talk about a little bit of knife technique because safety is always important. I am a jazz musician. I am a pianist and vocalist, which means I am hyper careful about my fingers. And always when you're dealing with something sharp, you do have to be careful. This is a sharp knife. That's one of the things that you need because when you have a blunt instrument, you tend to use your body weight to cut rather than using the tool itself. So one of the really good important safety tips, make sure your knives are sharp. Second, you always want stability. If you have something like this, I love using onions as an example because look at that, how unstable is that? So the first thing you do is create stability. Just chop off the poles, and then when that's flat, actually let's do it first. And mind that this is slippery, the shell. And while you cut it, also make sure that you use your knuckles as a guard. You don't want splayed fingers, just this way, okay? And then hold it steadily, boom. Both sides. And now that it's flat, relatively, we can just cut it down the middle, peel, and then we can proceed to cut. Now, as I said, we are pureeing the soup. So aesthetics will not matter. You can chop, you can slice. They all will be happy together in soup. That is all so easy. Okay, let's get that out. This is a big onion, but you know what? I love onions, so that's fine. And if there's any weird parts, just remove that. Okay, so all I'm gonna do is just do rough rings. And as with everything, size matters in terms of cooking time. The smaller, the faster it cooks. And that has to do with surface area. So obviously if you cook the whole half of the onion as is, that would take a lot longer than slicing it. And if I dice this into smaller pieces, that'll cook a lot more. What I'm just removing is like some parts that don't look too good. All right. And I am going to use, you see what I mean? Sometimes it's slippery like that. So always careful. And it's not about speed. You know, you see in food channels, chefs are going boom, 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 boom. They're not looking at their hands. Yeah, but to get to that level, you probably have so many cuts already in your history. And I'm a pianist. I can't afford that. It's always about safety. And the other thing is, you know, we are home cooking. We don't cook for hundreds of people, so that's not necessary. Okay, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, sage. If you're using herbs, prep it, but when to put it is what will matter depending on the herbs you use. So, for example, herbs like basil, which is very fragile, they are added towards the end. I'm gonna change my camera angle. So, I am using sage, and sage is not that fragile. So this can actually go anytime from when you start cooking towards the end. I'll probably do it in the middle, okay? Now, if you are using thyme, it's pretty much similar, even rosemary. Basil, let's see, what other fresh marjoram, you know, herbs like that. Wait until the end, because if you put it too soon, it will just, you know, it'll just get absorbed by everything and not the flavors necessary. Okay, so I will just use maybe 3, especially since I think some of my tubers might actually have the sage in it. Now this is it. I don't know if we had 10 minutes to our garlic, but I think we're close. I am also going to use a mixture of butter and olive oil to start off cooking. You don't have to. These are options. You can just do olive oil or any oil. You can use pure butter. One of the little secrets is if you wanted to make it a little bit higher heat than what you can use butter with, mixing olive oil with the butter helps. Okay, so I'll start heating up my stuff pot, and I have my butter somewhere here. We're gonna start with the onions. Here's my butter. Forgot to show that, but can't go wrong. We like butter. And I'm just putting a dash of olive oil. I'm gonna change view, looking for my, happened to my, okay. It's so funny. I'm looking for my stovetop, and I'm not finding it. Okay. There we go. Got ya. All right. Ta-da! So heat on medium. I'm gonna put a dash of olive oil. So you just want enough to coat the pan. While that's happening, just on the fly, I decided we're gonna dress the soup afterwards. You know, when we plate, we always like to think about that. And so I am going to add something which I didn't say I was going to do originally. Okay, add your onions, and then we're going to put a dash of salt, just so that the salt draws out the excess moisture. And we're going to cook this until it's translucent. So we're starting with onions before garlic, because garlic is so small that it's going to burn right away if you start with that. So if you have aromatics that are hefty, like onions and ginger, they're the first ones to go. Okay, I'm seeing something. I fished that one out because it had the stalk, but it's coming back in. I'm just trimming it. All right, a dash of salt. This is not really for seasoning, huh? That's just to draw out the moisture. Okay. And while we're waiting for that to get translucent, I'll show you. So these are my tubers from last week. Now, just because we want to be fancy, and today's a little bit easy, the class, we have time, I am going to make a little topping of, see, red would be nice. Let's get red and maybe orange. I'm gonna chop up a little bit of these guys into, like, I'll mince them, and we're gonna fry them in butter and sage so that we can top our soup with it. So let's see, how much do we want? Maybe, do I want white? I'm trying to look for colors because colors are nice. Okay, maybe that. All right, that's enough. And then I'm gonna go back to my chopping board. So what am I gonna do with this? I'm just gonna mince this into small pieces. So this wasn't part of the class, but Anna, since you're cooking, you're making the soup as well, this could be a fun thing for you to do as a topping. So I'm just like making them small bits. When we fry this, we're gonna crisp it up. And then you can imagine this with a little bit of a ham and fried in butter. And then pour it over your sauce. Drizzle it on your soup. Sorry, not the sauce, on your soup. Should be interesting, okay?
I have a purple carrot, so will that work?
Yeah, it would. Especially, that's a good color contrast to your soup, right? Because you have squash and all that. So always, it's nice to look for colorful dishes. In fact, that's part of the Japanese power of 5. They try to incorporate 5 colors in dishes, and if you can't do it in one dish, at least across the meal. Okay, that should be fine. Let's go back to, let's just check. Let's go back to my pan. By the way, you know, I start out sometimes the class reminding people if they're gonna cook to make sure they wash their hands. It's one of those things, of course, that with COVID, most people are already aware of this. So it's getting already brown on some sides, but it's not yet quite translucent everywhere. So just a few more minutes, and then that's fine. I'm on medium heat, so I could actually lower that a bit. Let's see. Well, we can do the butter actually when, let's see. You know, the other thing I'm gonna include with the topping is I'll also fry some of the Serrano ham. But maybe we shouldn't do that until this is done. Okay, okay, I'm just putting, I have a little pan here for the butter. Now, here's things that you can do for variation. The browner you cook your onions, the sweeter it becomes. So if you can actually keep this going for longer, and you'll just have a sweeter base, but it's not necessary. At this point, this is actually ready to go. I'm gonna add my garlic. And you just want to make sure the garlic hits the metal part, because if it's just floating on top of the onions, it's not going to cook. And this will just, you know, when you start smelling it, basically that's ready to rumble. That's probably a minute. Waiting for it, waiting for it. I'm mixing it just so that I see that it's not hitting the metal. And And you don't have to brown the garlic. When you brown the garlic, it also changes the flavors. So of course, the extreme of this is it becomes bitter. But yeah, you get to experiment with cooking vegetables and aromatics in different stages, you'll see how much they change. Okay, that's pretty much good. I'm putting the rest of the tubers in here. So in my case, since these are cooked, all I'm gonna do is just, get everything incorporated. So Anna, in your case, because yours is raw, see if you cook it a bit. I didn't ask you how thin or big you chopped it, but obviously the smaller it is, the faster it will cook. You don't have to cook it completely through, but if you cook a little bit of it so that you can brown it, again, that will change the flavor of your dish.
Okay.
Right? So, and then at this point, that's ready to go. I'm gonna put the sage. I don't even have to chop it. I'm just tearing it there. And I'm adding the stock. Now, don't add all of your stock. Just add enough to cover this. I'll explain in a bit. And when you do this, just make sure you get all the brown bits under. That's what the French call fond, F-O-N-D, because that's where your flavor is. Now, technically, mine is cooked, so I'm just gonna wait for this to, well, I just put the sage, so maybe I'll let it be for a few minutes and give Anna the chance to also get hers cooking. And then let's talk about stuff. So the reason why I said don't put all the stock, so regardless of what recipe you follow, when you're making soups that require X number of cups of soup, remember moisture level changes across different vegetables. And also, if it's winter, I like thick soups. If it's summer, I like it thinner. So you can always decide this along the way. It is hard to correct a thin soup because it's already thin. But if it was thick, if it was too thick for you, it's easy to add liquid and then thin it out. So if you have to err in one area, make it thicker because it's easy to thin out. So I still have some stock. I only just put enough to make sure everything gets cooked. So if you're using something raw, you just want to make sure every bit is covered in liquid so that it boils. And then after that, when you start pureeing, you get an idea when everything is melted and you see whether you like how thick it is, and then you can adjust accordingly, right? So while we're doing that, why don't we, let's do the little topping that we're gonna do on the soup. And I already chopped the tubers, so I just have to do a little bit of the ham.
Marlene, I also have like the leaves from the celery. Is that good for this part?
Actually, celery is a good thing to put it in already, because actually the Italians and Spanish, they call it sofrito in Italy and in Spain, where celery, carrots, and onions, that's the trinity of aromatics that they use. So yes, put it in, because if it's too late, you're gonna get that bite of the celery, which isn't always too pleasant for some people. But when you cook it in, it just is amazing. Yeah, you have to cook that down. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Here's my Serrano ham, and I am just gonna get a few to just fry up, and I will just slice them in little bits also. So let's see. Yeah, just get a few because I have enough for the dates. Okay, so. And let's see, back to my chopping board. So I'm I'm just gonna make this pretty much just much smaller. You don't have to, and you can also use, of course, bacon, which I love, but we happen to have these guys. So you can just imagine we're gonna make this crisp. And that's ready to go. I'm gonna get some butter. We are gonna fry these babies. All right, so back to my stove camera. I'm gonna move my pots. Actually, this is done, so I'm gonna cool that down. So that reason why, so that was actually cooked already. We need to cool this down before we puree. And now let's just do our another frying thing, and we're using butter for this. Use a fresh knife. So if you were here in last week's class, we made sage butter sauce. Well, that's you, Mark and Anna. And you know, we're using sweet potatoes in the soup, and that's another one that is really good with sage. So why not do sage with all the others? And we're browning it too as a little bit, so why not?
I'm using some of my leftovers for the soup, Marlene. The same.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Perfect. Wait, sorry, from last week, last week's too?
Yeah, from like my ghee sage butter.
Oh, see, okay, perfect. You know, anytime you're able to reuse stuff, it's amazing. You can see that you breathe new life in it. So I coined the term beauxrestes for beautifully repurposed leftovers because, you know, there's such a bad rap. Leftovers has a bad rap. I'm writing about the history of that in the US, which is really fascinating. And, you know what? I might as well tell you the history because it's really fun. So basically, leftovers as a term pretty much came with, you know, after the invention of refrigeration and the icebox. Because before that, it didn't exist as a culinary term, of course, because people didn't have leftovers at the time, you know, prior to refrigeration, things would spoil. So, and I'm gonna put salt too here. You know what? I'm gonna put a little bit more sage. And you know what? I think I want more butter. Hold on. I will continue that story. All right. And then, okay, let's continue with an interesting story of leftovers. So yes, so the term was coined pretty much, you know, late 1890s, you know, and then it became more the mode in the turn of the 20th century, like 1910, etc. Refrigeration started becoming more a household thing. A lot of houses started getting, you know, a version of refrigerators, obviously not like what we have, and that was really an important thing because you know, it just reduced the work for people. But at the time, you know, people were using up leftovers because food was very expensive for Americans. It was like 40% of their income was spent on food. Today, 2015 statistics, it's less than 7%. So you can see that leftovers weren't really wasted before. And then, of course, World War I, World War II, farmers went to Europe to fight, and food scarcity. So, of course, there was this frugal, a frugal mentality towards food, which was amazing. After the war, peace, prosperity, and fast tracking, abundance of food. Boom! It's like people started like thinking, oh well, I'm kind of rich now. I can afford to like not eat leftovers. So it became the status symbol. So it's really interesting. And then an interesting thing I also read was that in World War II, it was a moral duty to conserve food, and so there were some people who, you know, because the order of food. Like when you had leftovers from the family, that's usually what was fed to the pets. So then some people thought it was their moral duty to kill their pets, and that was celebrated in some states as a patriot act. I mean, it's really interesting. So now the reason why I want to coin, or why I'm coining the term beauxrestes, which is French for beautiful leftovers, is to kind of compensate for the negative bias that we all have towards the term leftovers. And when we start thinking of it in a different way, that leftovers can be repurposed and become amazing, beautiful dishes, it just changes things. And then we start thinking of ways to like, to like more something and see how much more life we can get out of a certain dish. It becomes a little game with my husband and myself. You know, it's kind of fun. All right, let's see. This is the thing. All right. I'm just watching that, and then we're gonna stuff dates after this. I'm just a few more minutes. I'm not gonna brown the butter too much for I just for the little drizzling thing. What I want is crispness. So I'm gonna just check one of them, see how it is. Nah, not yet. That can still go on for a bit. All right, so then let's do a bit of the dates. So this is an appetizer that we tend to do. We actually use it in our class every so often. It's one of the like snacks that people can munch on before their first appetizer is ready. And it's also a really easy and amazing order to serve. And we'll talk about the different ways that you can serve it. Today, we are just going to stuff it with goat cheese and the Serrano ham. You have to depit this first. Sometimes you can buy it depitted, but actually I'll show you. And I'm only gonna do about 8 of them because we're only 2. So I think it's sufficient for us to eat 4 each. Okay, wait, checking on the butter. You always have to check when you're working with butter to make sure that it's fine. And you know what? I'll show you because I think this is ready. All right, well, let's see, it's glaring, but you can see how nice and sizzly that is. Anytime you're working with stuff like this, make sure you have a tempered bowl. I'm gonna transfer this to a bowl because if you leave it here, it's gonna keep on cooking. And if it keeps on cooking and you're not paying attention, it will burn. Okay. So that's pretty much it. You can imagine you're gonna like drizzle this. Well, you don't drizzle it because it's salt, but you're gonna like put this on top of your soup. It's just gonna be cool. And then of course I still have, you can choose to use chives or not, we'll see. All right, I'm changing cameras. Back to our dates. So I'm just gonna get a couple of these guys. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I make date balls out of these, you know, it's very cool. Just dates and my toasted nuts and seasonings, and wow, it's a great snack that we have while we're binging on Netflix, and it's healthy, it's guilt-free. So you want to just remove these seeds and also this tip here. That's all. So it's fairly easy. It's one of those things. I think I was sort of timing myself. I can do about 18 in a minute if I was just concentrating on doing this, because I basically, maybe I make my date balls almost every week. So, okay. So if you're stuffing this you know, for hors d'oeuvres. You don't want to break the whole thing open. You just want to make the slit. Wait, I just want to make sure my angle. You just want to make the slit so that you can stuff it and it's not like, and then you can sort of close it back. Okay, so the other thing that we do, or the first time actually I worked with dates, I stuffed it with blue cheese and a raw pecan, and then lightly toasted it so that the blue cheese melted. And I wonder if you can imagine how that tastes. Okay, that's pretty much it. Let's get the goat cheese, and I'm getting a teaspoon. You see how easy this is. It's one of those no stress party. Well, it's good enough that it's like it has an impact, you know, looking at it, that you can actually serve this at a dinner party, which we do. And we've gotten a lot of compliments for this.
Marlene,
Yes.
do you serve those warm, or would you warm them before, or do you warm them after?
This one, actually, all of the above, that's all okay. So if you could make it warm, and then you get the cheese a little bit melted. So that's actually a really nice thing. So like with the blue cheese, I do serve it warm because the blue cheese melted with the pecan is pretty amazing. With this, I actually don't. I just leave it as is. But if you want, but as I said, if you warm it, it's fine too.
So you'd warm them before the cheese and then put the cheese in after?
No, you stuff everything and then warm. If you
Okay.
to go the warming, yeah, do everything first and then warm. Because once it's warm, and well, the point of warming is to melt the cheese, right?
Right.
So yeah. Hey, Mark, if you do this, send photos.
I will. Absolutely.
Yeah, we always like to hear stuff like that. Okay, so all right, that's stuffed. Let's get the little ham. And you see, you don't need big pieces. This is expensive ham. So if you want to be cheap, you can just put a little one. But look, the point is, okay, you're getting, this is savory, and then that's sweet, and then you have savory tart. So when you get all sorts of flavors happening like that, it makes for a rich, you know, a rich bite. You're like, oh my God, what did I just taste? That sort of thing. And then that's not just done because, as I said, I have garden chives, and garden chives, these are related to the one I have, because you can have onion and you can have garlic. Mine is related to garlic, I believe. Wait, is that right? No, it's onion. So then you have a little bit of that flavor adding to the whole shebang. But not only that, you have the color. Okay, I'm gonna ask Anna, how's your how are your vegetables? Are they cooked already?
No, I made too many vegetables. So there's
Oh, you don't need to use all of it for the cooking, but you know, since are they already in the pot?
yeah.
Oh, well, let's just wait for it. That's not a problem. Okay, so and then the chives. So if you want to, because of the color, right? If you want to really show that, make sure, because the green goes well against the white. You want to see all, which is why I'm just trying to tuck the ham in. Presentation, the flavor will be the same. This is now presentation that I'm looking at. Okay, scissors. I am just going to, actually, you know what? Let's do this on a plate, because then you'll see how to plate. Give me a sec, I'm gonna get a plate. Make it nice. Let's see. Well, actually, I have one right in front of me. Okay, then if you see it against a white backdrop, you'll see that when you have the green, it's gonna look very cool as well. All right, so let's see. And I'm not even using a fancy platter. This is just a so-so. I was gonna get the fancy platter and I'm like, I'm too lazy, it's kind of far. So, all right, let's just do this. A bit closer to the camera. And some of them will be sprinkled like that, you know, as decorations go and garnishes go. That's not a problem. But try to make some of them stick to the dates because there is a flavor. This is not just being pretty, it's substance too. You want the flavor. So look at that. And because I have flowers, why not dress it up? See? These flowers are free. They're from the yard. And I did not step on them. And as I said, you can eat this. Now, additional punch, drizzle with olive oil. You don't have to. It's just I like the look of sometimes drizzling stuff. But if you think it's going to be messy to eat, then you don't have to. But check out. Doesn't that look like, that's party fare, right? Isn't that like, yeah. And trust me, that is yummy. Okay, that's done.
What other kinds of meat can you use?
Any of the deli meats, you can, as long as it's cooked. You can use bacon, so just make sure it's cooked, okay? But bacon, I've used bacon before. You can use salami, you can use sausage. Let's see, what else? Yeah, any of the deli meats, they're all okay. There's no hard and fast rule. You can probably, I wouldn't recommend it, but you can actually even use fish if you really wanted to, like smoked salmon. But actually, I just the flavor part, I'm not sure will jive, like smoked salmon and sweet, but meats are like perfect with sweets, you know? Okay, so that's done. Let's do the soup is gonna be pretty much near ready. You know what? We can puree the soup. But do I want to, before I puree the soup, I think I'm gonna slice just the onion for the salad. And then, so while I have this. So some people might not agree, but I happen to love raw red onions in salad. It's not the same. Yellow onions won't work. Red onions, it just has that bite that is pretty, that I like the contrast of that. And since we're gonna have avocado and toasted pecans, for some reason all of that they all taste good together. So this can be overpowering, so you wanna make sure you slice as thin as possible. Again, knuckles, just doing little slivers. I'm just making enough for 2 of us, so that is all she wrote. Boom. Okay, and then we can do the avocado later. That's the last thing. All right, soup time. I'm gonna clear this because I'm gonna bring the blender to this station. So let's get this out. So remember, we haven't seasoned the soup yet. And you don't want to season at this point because, let me just see. You don't want to, wait, give me, who is this? Unplugged. You know, I plugged something somewhere and I have to use a plug. So I just want to make sure I'm not unplugging the wrong thing. Okay. Okay, so you don't want to season until after you puree because you don't even know what the flavors are until everything is pureed together. So I am switching to the front. Wait, you can see this. All right, let's see. Okay, so let's get the. So Anna, you're not yet, you don't have to, by the way, I forgot to mention this. You don't have to fully cook all your vegetables before you puree.
Oh.
Because you want to make it soft enough and cooked enough because you don't want the raw flavors to be apparent. But at this point, is it sort of soft enough that if you put your fork, it's kind of okay? Can your fork go through?
Like russet potatoes and cabbage.
Yeah.
So let me double check.
Cabbage, don't worry. But the thick ones, the fibrous ones, like your potatoes, can you at least put your fork through it? It doesn't have to be super soft, just like enough.
Yeah, let me double check.
Yeah. So the difference is if you puree when it's raw, you'll have a raw taste. And what cooking does is it brings out certain flavors. Usually the sweetness of something, or what makes the vegetable taste that way, that is the one that's emphasized when you cook it more. But there are vegetables like squash. I don't really wait until it's soft when I puree. I just a little bit soft, like not enough that that's not how I would eat it normally. But I puree it and then boom, it's nice because it's naturally sweet. So come back to me on that. But meanwhile, I'm gonna put my stuff here. So why we had to wait for this is because you really don't want to put hot stuff in this when you are blending, and especially if well, basically hot stuff. If you're going to be putting a top to this, steam rises, and if it's really, really hot, it could pop the lid off, and it's dangerous. Okay, so that's why we cool it. Usually 10 minutes is sufficient, but in this case, I hardly even cook this because, as I said, it was already roasted.
About 5 more minutes. The potatoes aren't really, like I can't really stab it.
Not really. Yeah, maybe 5 more minutes, and then we're fine. Yeah. Okay. Oh, but wait for it to cool down before you puree, okay? So I'm just gonna do this ahead. So I'm just putting it in. You can do this in batches because there is a limit always. They usually come with like markers up to where you're supposed to be filling your container. So I'll start off with this. I still have stock. I'm gonna be adding stock. I'll also be adding some sort of milk. I'm gonna use half and half for this. It's gonna be loud. I don't know if you can see, but I definitely need more liquid, which is totally fine. And this is, you see, it's easy to add. As I said, not so easy to subtract. Like that means the helping hand that you get. Let's see. That's interesting. Definitely needs a lot of liquid. Looks like I can put everything. And more. I'm gonna use water. Okay, I have more stuff, so I'm just gonna fill it up. And if I happen to use too much, then I will just put it in another batch. But let's see, I might be able to work it out. See, all the flavors, the onion, the garlic, that's pretty much all gonna be mixed, and that's why seasoning is after the fact. Okay, I'm nearing. I'm just gonna push it. I think I can push this out. It's kind of, sorry, bad angle, but I'll show you in a bit. But I'm pretty much close to the limit of what you're supposed to fill your container with. This is a Vitamix blender, by the way, and it's an investment. But if you really are into soups, it's worth it because you can make creamy soups in a pinch. Look at this. It's really, really full. Now, especially when you have something that's full, this is still okay, but that's pretty much the capacity limit. Make sure you start slow because we don't want this to explode. Okay, let's make sure. Starting slow. Okay, if you were using if it was, this is not warm at all, I mean, or actually just a little bit warm. If it was a little bit hotter than this, I don't know if you saw me do this. Why do this? It wasn't necessary for this case, but if it was hotter, this releases the steam. But if you do this, you just want to make sure it's slowly, and you don't do this when it's really high. Okay, so I really am careful about this. I think I have exploded something once or twice before. Okay, and now let's see. This is super thick. We're still thinning this down because I'm going to add milk. So I'm just going to pour it here. And this time, turn back the heat. Oh, I'll show you something too. So there's a lot of goodies here. Before cleaning, I'm going to get some of that. So I'm just like, whoa, get all the goodies. Why not? That's flavor. Instead of just using plain water. And that's it. Okay, we'll get it later. Get this out of the way. Heat back on. Okay, getting rid of stuff, cleaning up. And I want to show you how thick this is. Let's see if it's, let's see. If I do this, you can sort of see how it's glopping down. So that's like really nice for a winter hearty soup, but I want to thin that down further. I am taking out half and half and yogurt. So you can use, I love half and half. I use sometimes almond milk. Sometimes if you want a little bit of tart, you can use, this is yogurt. I'm probably gonna use this as a top because I can imagine that will go well. And this is just to add, this is the half and half, just to add some creaminess. And then we're gonna start checking for flavor. Let's see. Ooh, nice and hearty. That's it. All right, flavor time. Now this is the time. So I think I will keep this thickness. I kind of like it. Still pretty chilly in Delum. And I want to taste. Okay, it's sweet. Perfect. Which means there's just a little bit more flavor. I just need to, this is salt and pepper to taste. Oh, and maybe cayenne. I happen to like a little bit of kick. So a little bit of cayenne, why not? Okay. These are all optional. at this point. And then, of course, pepper. I'm a fan of pepper also. In fact, I brought home Madagascar pepper from France a few years ago, which is touted as the best black pepper, which chefs all over the world want, and you can't find them here. And of course, I was hoarding it, you know, saving it for the rainy day. And when COVID happened, and we're like, oh my God, we should be using up our, you know, whatever stuff. And so I broke open the Madagascar pepper. A little bit more. So very important to taste as you go. All right, just a little bit more, and I think that's fine. And now we're just waiting for it to heat up before we plate, which means we're gonna go into our salad. All you wanna do to heat this up, you don't wanna boil it hard, you want it to get to a simmer, okay? So simmering is a light, gentle boil, so very small bubbles, that's what it is. All right, let us do our salad. And the salad, well, first of all, change camera. Okay, well, first I'll start with a bed of greens. I'm just doing two because it's my husband and myself. This is dinner. And we are heavy salad eaters. So normally this salad we have, and we just, either we use usually we don't even put any protein. If we have it just as a main meal, like for lunch, that's when we would do the smoked salmon or shrimp or whatever. Usually we'll have it without that. Okay, I'm just moving things. When the onions, you see, it's also beautiful to have the purple against the green. So it's not only just a flavor thing, it's also aesthetics. You know, we eat with our eyes, and not only that, onions are also power-packed with phytonutrients that are really healthy. So, boom. Okay, then more color. Avocado. So, avocado. I have seen people cut this in very scary ways. Let me just show you an easy, no risk way to do it. I washed this already. You know, it's only recently I started washing my avocados because when you bring stuff from the grocery, you have to start disinfecting, or I just wipe this down. But it's a good idea too because you're using a knife and then you can have cross-contamination. So look at this. Again, boom. And I just slice it down the middle. Be careful as you turn around. Now, I have seen people in class do this. And then, where's my camera? And then they go, boom. That is really dangerous. I know, I've seen chefs do it too. But you know what? A little slip, and if it goes through, you miss, your hand is there. So, the hands-free version is, just do this. And then twist, and you have it out. And then, to remove, wait, can you see this? Hold on. Oh, yeah, there we go. Just knock it like that. Then you don't have to involve your fingers at all. So it's just the safe way to do it. And then, you can slice this any way you want, but this is just my go-to. I tend to just do diagonals. There we go, diagonals. This is actually how I cut up mangoes too. It's fairly similar. And avocado is chock full of omega-3, super healthy. I can't get enough of this. When I was growing up in Manila, You know, it used to be that fat was supposed to be bad. That's been debunked already, but only in the last 8 years. And so, you know, I already liked avocado, but we wouldn't eat it because it was supposed to be fatty, and that was bad. And now it's like, oh my God, it's so good for you. So of course, we're eating it as much as possible. Yay! So there we go, green and green. So this provides texture too, because avocado is creamy. So when you think of dishes, you like different layers of color, layers of texture. We're gonna have the crunch of the pecans on this too. So there's a lot of stuff happening. You might think it's a simple salad, but when you work with elements like this, you're suddenly elevating them into really phenomenal everyday dishes. Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands after this because it's full of cream. Okay, now, where's my pecans? Okay. My freshly toasted pecans, just put some here. Now you see the brown with the green and the purple. Okay, and coup de grace, again, usually this is how we have our salad. Sometimes I use mandarins. Mandarins are also very yummy. And then I change up my dressings and do an Asian style. But here's, I still have another pack of smoked salmon. So I will just do one for demo. This one is close to the camera. And since it's your centerpiece, you know, just dress it nicely. So maybe that way. Looks like actually I don't need to break open the pack. I think this is going to be sufficient. Okay, and then we're going to pepper and dress. We wash my hands anytime you're handling slimy, raw, whatever food. This is not raw, but it makes my hand greasy. You want to wash. Pepper, I always like to pepper. And you can, so the simplest way, because this is actually a go-to, we just do, you know, a balsamic. We're picky with our balsamics. We haven't broken this open yet, but this is a really good balsamic vinegar, and it happened to be on sale, so we got 3. Ha ha ha! I wish we got more. And if you have a chance, invest in balsamic vinegar. This is okay. It's a Trader Joe's, what is it? Trader Giotto. I don't know if they still have this. We've had this for a few years because we bought a few. Now what we do, I know you can put them in bowls and then mix and all, but you know, why waste a bowl? I just like pretty much just dress on top. I start with a balsamic. That was Jeff's idea because he thinks that it disperses better if you start with the balsamic and then oil. Okay, so that's done with this. So second dish, let's just look for the camera. Yeah, not bad, not bad. You know, the color doesn't look as good here. I'll probably put it in my other camera later on. Okay, dish done. We are gonna ladle the soup. Okay, soup bowls. So I'm using this, and you know what? Just because it's fun, I may use some yogurt for the top. We'll see. We're playing. What do I need? A little. I'm looking for. Oh, it's here. I need a teaspoon. Okay. Soup is hot. I am ladling. Okay. Now, just because we're experimenting, and it's nice to have a little bit of white. Let's see. You can use half and half. Look at that. So it's so thick, the soup, that it stands on top. And then let's put some of the beautiful, this one. Get some, so the ham. Ooh, look at that. And you see how the butter disperses and floats? So remember, oil floats. So you can drizzle. Oh, look at that. You know what? I have a fried sage. Why not use it as the green? There you go. And I think I don't want to skimp. Let's put a little bit more. Look. Okay, I have to show you. Ta-da! Oh, come on. Doesn't that look pretty? That looks good, right? All right, so let's see. We did all three.
I'm salivating, Marlene.
You are. Hey, when this is all over, Mark, you have to come on over. You are local.
I will definitely planning to do that. Absolutely.
Right. So the thing about cooking, cooking a lot, like, you know, we're all cooking in place right now, is that there's so much food in the house. Our freezer is like packed, and like I've been sending food to my neighbors because I'm like, oh my God, where else, you know? But it's fun.
I'll lend you my college kids.
Oh yeah. Hey Sandy,
They'll eat it.
welcome. Sandy, where are you from? I just saw you now.
Oh, Los Angeles.
Wow, it's too early for dinner for you.
It is. It is.
Thank you for joining us. Oh, how is it over there?
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful day.
Oh, it's a beautiful day.
But the grocery stores are kind of pretty empty. I couldn't find stuff, so I thought I'd just watch.
There is a supply run also, so it's a little bit nerve-wracking. We did a major grocery run last week because I was reading about the supply chains, and you know, if you have a freezer, it's probably a good idea to stock up on stuff that's freezable, stuff that you can use up. But hey, Sandy, I'm glad you. How'd you find out about us?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
It was something.
We're all local. That's why.
I can't remember where, but I invited Meredith, so we came together in Albuquerque, so we could see each other's face.
Okay, so we have Albuquerque, California. We have New Mexico too, I think.
Well, yeah, she's Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh yeah, that's right. And Mark is local, and so is Anna. Who else? Is there anyone else? Because I before I like wrap up, I've seen everyone. You know, unfortunately, we were supposed to be Facebook streaming. Are any of you guys experts on Facebook live stream?
No.
Oh, I knew it. It started. It was live streaming for 6 minutes, and then it died. And then I'm like, what's causing it? So, because you know, these classes tend to fill up. It's like there's 25 slots. It's already booked. So I figured, you know, and then some people don't show up, maybe because it's free. So I figured if we live stream it, you know, at least people who just want to watch, it's just open to a broader public. So, but I'm so happy that you guys joined us. So thank you for another. Thank you for making another episode of Let's Eat Really Good. But I don't want to really sign off yet because I want to hear from everyone. Anna, wait, you're not finished cooking.
I know. So my soup is really good, but it's purple. So the purple carrots didn't add extra color.
Wait, maybe because it's the...
I shouldn't have used any of the purple carrots in the soup, I think. And I used my own homemade veggie broth, which was already darker.
Okay. So yeah, you could have used the
good.
purple carrots as a garnish.
Yeah, the purple carrots are in there as a garnish. They're just sank. So they're there.
Okay, that's good. Hey, that's always good to learn from that. And you had, outside of the purple carrots, you had squash?
So I decided not to use the squash. I used cabbage and I used potatoes.
Okay.
And onions and celery and carrots. Yeah. So.
Yeah, unless it's like predominantly the color, it gets washed out. So like my soup is, I don't know if you could see it clearly, but I use different colors. So it's sort of like almost a mustard yellowish soup. And really that color alone, it's not vibrant. It's like, unless you dress it up with stuff. So that's why that was like on the fly. But you tasted it, it's good? It tastes good?
Very good. I'm very impressed. It's like really a lot of different flavors, and I'm gonna probably have to put cilantro on it to entice James because like, what is this purple dish you're trying to give me?
You just tell him it's a sort of a borscht. No, but guys, seriously, any vegetable, I tell you, soup is like one of the easiest things to make, like this kind of soup, where you have basically your rule is aromatics, whatever vegetables you want to put. If you wanted to, and I do this sometimes, if you want to mix for a meat flavor, like I've done this with lentils, where you also put some sausages in, like you cook the sausage first and then you puree it all together. It's pretty amazing. So
I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
We've been doing a meat share from Chestnut Farm, and so their meat is just incredible. So I'll have to try that.
To hear. Yeah, probably the right time to be in a CSA, a share, because they're running out already in the grocery stores.
Oh yeah, we're trying to do everything. So I'll send you a link. There's a produce distributor that's distributing their produce through different like coffee shops, stores in different towns around Boston. And you're in Dedham, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they have a Dedham vendor. So I'll send you the link, because it's like $25 to $35, and you get a huge box of produce, and it's like a mix of different things every week.
Yeah, I used to do that years ago. I used to do CSAs, but then I used to do actually 1/3 of a share, because it was a huge box and it was just the two of us. But I might look into it again until summer, because now we just got a community plot after 7 years waiting in Dedham.
Wow.
Because we don't have, we tried to plant as much vegetables here, but we don't have full sun, so we can only grow stuff that's not so happy, that's not so sensitive to sun. And so now that we have this new plot, we're so excited. I have already tomatoes this big. I started from seed from like 2 months ago. I have Jerusalem artichokes. I talked about that in one of the classes. It's one of my new favorites. I have 7 plants. They're already this big. So I will sort of talk about that more in future when it's there, because it's like the idea is to just get as food independent as possible, if it's okay, right?
I love it.
Yeah. Send me the link, please, Anna. And and again, I'm going to sign off so you can have your dinner. Thank you for joining me again. Anna, Mark, nice to see you again. I hope everyone else joins us back. Next week, we're still going to be doing this. I've added more dates in May. If my trip doesn't push through in Florida, which probably won't, then it might be the whole of May that we're going to be doing this, and maybe more. I don't know. So until next time, keep safe, keep well, and
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, and I'll see you soon.
We'll see you next week.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Bye.
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 Bae.